Part 31. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 301. Chapter 301. After Feng Ling said this, he took the child to his room and asked Bishang to prepare a lot of growth-promoting things for the child to eat. Yekin he felt that the world was mysterious. He couldn't see clearly what this woman was thinking. However, he was indeed hungry, so adhering to the belief that if you don't eat, you won't eat for nothing. Yekin he ate anyway. And just like Feng Wan Kenyun, he ate everything and left nothing at all. Feng Ling. The little guy is pretty good at eating. Why is Yeking Han usually starving him? At this time, Yeking Han came back because he had heard people say that Yekinju had come over and was afraid of what he would do to the little girl. Although the little girl's urine would not be bullied by Yekinju, but when on the way, he heard the little girl beat Yekinju up, and smiled helplessly. The little girl was still the same little girl, and no matter how many years passed, this fact could not be changed. You're back. Feng Ling saw Yeking Han from a distance outside the door and didn't bother to stand up. She stuffed a meatball in her mouth and muttered. Well, did you have fun today? Yeking Han glanced at Yekin he and wondered why this kid was here. Yekin he was glanced at by his third brother inexplicably, and he always felt a little cold. Happy. Feng Ling looked at Yekin he and said, Yekinju came and told me to be nice to this kid and not let me bully him. I was wondering when I had ever bullied him. Today was the first day I met him. Why, you used to bully him. Princess, third brother doesn't have. Yekin he was a little panicked. But he heard his third brother say nonchalantly, well, who said this kid wouldn't bully him back? Yekin he must have the courage. However, judging from the third brother's tone, he didn't seem to be angry. Feng Ling was speechless when she saw the child's cautious look. Isn't he your third brother? Why are you afraid of your third brother? Child. It makes sense, but he is just afraid. Is there anything he can do? You go back first. Yeking Han asked Yekin he to go back first. Tell Feng Ling why his third brother was not nice to him in the past. In short, this child is afraid that his third brother cannot change overnight, so he should take his time. However, he originally didn't want the child to meet Feng Ling because he was a male creature. You see, as soon as they met, he was dragged into the room to eat. If he had seen her for a long time, it would be hard for him to imagine what he would be like. In short, a beautiful woman like Feng Ling must isolate herself from all male creatures in the outside world. I have to go back tomorrow, so I have to get up early. After Yeking Han drove the children away, he looked at Feng Ling and said. As expected, after he finished speaking, Feng Ling let out a wail, ah. She hates getting up early. Can you go again at noon? It's hard for her body not to suffer from insomnia. No, Yeking Han refused righteously. If we go there late, it means that Prince Yes Palace doesn't pay attention to you, and there will be people outside gossiping about you. I don't mind, her reputation is already like that anyway. However, Yeking Han said seriously, I mind. His little friend must be pampered by himself, and no one else can say a word to him. Feng Ling glanced at him sadly and agreed. She knew what Yeking Han meant, but it was good to save herself from trouble later. Bai Chang glanced at Yeking Han. This Lord Ye seemed to be really nice to the lady. She had not seen Lord Ye lose his temper for so many days. The lady seemed to be very relaxed in front of Lord Ye, without any etiquette. In short, these two people seemed to be harmonious together. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 302. Chapter 302. Early the next morning, Shang Guanlin and Feng Tian had already gotten up and sent someone to wait outside the door to see when their daughter would come back. Feng Tian also met Yeking Han when he was in court these days, but it was just a quick glance and no face-to-face communication. I don't know why, but Feng Tian feels that Ye King Han's aura has become stronger these days, even surpassing that of the emperor. In the court, there were many times when the old emperor was speechless by Ye King Han, and this the man didn't seem to feel that he had done anything treacherous, and there was no expression on his face that could be understood at all. Unfathomable, these 4 words are vividly reflected in Ye King Han. It is precisely because of this that Feng Tian is even more worried about his daughter. He is afraid that his daughter and Ye King Han will not get along well, because there are vague rumors outside that the prince will be changed. Then, no one can say who will be the prince in the future. Soon, the 2 people saw the carriage of the Night King's mansion. As usual, the carriage of the Night King's mansion was always mainly black, which made people feel intimidated. Ye King Han came out first, and everyone in the general's mansion knelt down and saluted respectfully. Ye King Han didn't intend to embarrass them and let them get up the next second. Feng Ling came out from behind Ye King Han and jumped out of the carriage. Feng Tian's heart skipped a beat when he saw it. Ling Ling was really married. She was so careless. The carriage was so high that she jumped off the carriage. Bishang looked a little scary. "Princess, be careful." "It's okay, it's not that high." Bishang. "Looking at the carriage that is more than 1 meter high, I feel that the princess's lack of height and theirs lack of height are not the same concept." After Feng Ling got out of the car, she rushed directly to Feng Tian and Shang Guanlin. "Dad, Mother, my daughter is back." "Mom, have you missed me these past few days?" "How could you not want to? My mother misses you so much. How have you been, Lingling, these days?" Shang Guanlin asked tentatively. Okay, there are a lot of delicious food in Ye Wang's mansion, and I will bring it to my mother to eat in the future. The chef over there is simply amazing. I have never eaten anything so delicious." Feng Ling squinted her eyes and laughed. Ye King Han squinted his eyes. "Chef. Very good, don't let Lingling see him next time." After all, Lingling said his cooking is delicious. He should consider setting up a wall in the kitchen so that people outside cannot see inside. "Chef, he is very innocent, really. Actually, he is pretty good looking and can be seen by others." "Your Majesty, you wouldn't cover him up so tightly." "But how did the chef know?" "It was because it was so delicious that it was favored by the princess, so the prince was jealous. If he knew, he would probably be very innocent, no, even more innocent." "Lord Ye, please come in." Feng Tian stepped aside to make way for Ye King Han to advance. Looking at her daughter's condition, she should have lived well in the past 3 days, and Feng Tian felt relieved for the time being. After all, her daughter knows that Feng Ling is a person who does not hide her temper. If she is happy, then she is really happy. If she is not happy, she will just say it. Ye King Han nodded, then took Feng Ling's hand and walked inside. "Where do you live?" Ye King Han asked. "There. I'll take you to have a look," Feng Ling said, pulling Ye King Han directly towards her house. Feng Tian. Shang Guanlin. They suddenly felt that their daughter no longer had them in her heart. Why? Also, is it really okay for Lingling to be so unrestrained in front of Lord Ye? This is a royal palace after all. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 303. Chapter 303. How is Lingling doing in the palace recently? Feng Tian grabbed Bishang and asked. Bishang blessed her body and then replied, "Back to the general, the princess is doing well these days. The prince is very good to the princess. It seems that he is not as unkind as the rumors outside. The prince seems very cold, but after getting along with him, he found that the prince is very doting on the princess, and even has some rules, but they have never been established in front of the princess and the prince. This is something Bishang didn't understand. Feng Tian was quite worried at first, but after hearing what Bishang said, he was no longer worried and instead breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. As long as Lingling is happy, his father has nothing else to ask for. No one expected that Ye Qinghan would return to the general's mansion with his little princess. When the old emperor heard the news, he smashed a hole in the valuable dragon chair in a rage. Call Prince Ye and that Feng Ling over here. Yes, I obey the order. Father. Your Majesty. The two men saw the old emperor, the one with the same indifferent attitude. The emperor suddenly wondered if he had made a mistake in bringing these two disasters together. Although, you two are newlyweds, I shouldn't have let you go about this matter. The old emperor coughed to show his embarrassment. But, looking around, there is no one more suitable than you. Father is talking about the war in the West. Ye Qinghan had already realized what the old emperor was going to say. Lately, what has been giving the old emperor a headache is the Western War. Besides this, there is something else. The old emperor did not expect Ye Qinghan to say it directly. He nodded, yes, it is the war in the West, so I want you to go immediately to defend against foreign enemies. Since you are newlyweds, Yan'er, Feng Ling, you and Han'er will be together. Go ahead. Feng Ling twitched her mouth. What the old emperor said was really good. At best, she was a newlywed, but at worst, the old emperor wished they both died outside together. Feng Ling nodded, okay, I understand. Old emperor. Seeing that you really don't care, he has no sense of accomplishment, okay. In short, the two of them were ready to leave the next day. This time, Feng Tian also wanted to apply, but the old emperor refused, saying that Feng Tian also wanted to guard the home, so Feng Tian could only watch his daughter go. Now, he feels very powerless inside. If he had been stronger, his daughter wouldn't have suffered like this. Feng Tian sighed, tell me, are we really wrong? They are dedicated to the country, but the emperor really wants his daughter to die. General Shang Guanlin looked at his man, his heart full of sadness. The body is just fine, but the face has become a lot pale because of this incident. There are often wars on the western border, but they are not as common as in recent years. Feng Ling and Ye Qinghan felt that the road here was very uneven. Because they came to fight, Feng Ling did not bring 3 girls. Their current physical condition was not suitable for coming here. All the generals knew why Feng Ling came here, so they sympathized with Feng Ling very much and took special care of Feng Ling. Regarding this point, Ye Qinghan said that it was unnecessary. Feng Ling was his woman. Why were these people's eyes almost glued to each other? What's the meaning? Everyone, they were wronged. They were just worried that the princess would be uncomfortable, nothing else. They are still innocent single men. Ye Qinghan, look, a single man, a male creature. To be exterminated. Everyone. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 304. Chapter 304. I heard that Princess Ye is coming too. Early in the morning, the news of Feng Ling's arrival spread on the front lines. After everyone spread the news by word of mouth, there was a lot of talk about this princess. On the one hand, they are discussing what kind of person this princess is and whether she is easy to get along with. On the one hand, they were thinking about how they would get along with the princess after her arrival. Apart from the medical soldiers, they had never had any young lady from aristocratic families come to the front line. After all, they are all grown men who are used to being careless. How have they ever taken care of a little girl? Furthermore, they heard that the princess seemed to have a bad temper, so this made many people fearful. I heard that the princess did not arrange a maid this time, so we will probably be asked to serve the princess. I heard that the princess was asked to stay with us. Ah, I don't want to think about it at all. The rules in the palace are so troublesome. At this moment, the medical team also received news. If Fen Ling comes over, there will be no other place to stay except them, but let them stay with the princess. It would be better to kill them, but this is an order and there is nothing they can do. See the prince, see the princess. Soon, Fen Ling and Ye King Han's teams arrived at the front line. No courtesy, Ye King Han said. Fen Ling got out of the car behind Ye King Han. Ye King Han didn't say much, just said a few words casually and then went to his tent. He asked Ying to take Fen Ling to where he lived. Ying Yi is the secret guard beside Ye King Han, and Fen Ling has always known of his existence. Princess, please follow me. Everyone looked at the direction Fen Ling was walking and knew that they were going to the place where the medical soldiers were. Fen Ling was placed in a relatively remote place. This was Fen Ling's own request. She never liked living with too many people. The person who lives in the same place as Fen Glu is called Hans Huang. Frost, see the princess. Seeing Fen Ling, Hans Huang knelt down directly. From her expression, you can see her nervousness. She is new here and has never learned the rules of the palace, so her kneeling is not standard. Fen Ling waved her hand and said, "Get up, this is not a palace, there is no need to kneel down." Even in the palace, she didn't like to see people kneeling back and forth in front of her, it was weird. Yes, Princess Hans Huang stood up, then watched Ying Yi leave, feeling a little helpless. For a while, the room was a little quiet. It was Fen Ling who spoke first, "When do you eat here?" She was a little hungry. "Come on, the food should be distributed already." "Princess, Hans Huang can go and get it for you." "No need, just take me with you." Fen Ling smiled and took Han Shuang's hand. Hans Huang was a little flattered. They all said that the new princess had a bad temper, but she felt that this princess was not difficult to get along with. In the process of communication, Hans Huang gradually relaxed. She told Fen Ling that she is 16 years old and is the youngest medical soldier. "Not bad," Fen Ling said with a smile. In modern times, a 16-year-old still goes to school and doesn't understand anything. "Princess, we are here." Hans Huang pointed not far away. The food here was very shabby. It was a bowl of rice, a little green vegetables and nothing else. The meat was for the soldiers. Because of the shortage of supplies, this was all the medical soldiers could eat. "Princess, maybe a little shabby." "It's okay," Fen Ling shook his head indifferently. Back then, they didn't even eat these during training. She likes to eat, but if conditions are limited, it doesn't matter to her. Everyone is observing the new princess. They all thought that she would not be able to bear the food, but no one expected that the princess would eat it like this. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 305. Chapter 305. Hans Huang finished eating quickly, because she still had patients to see, and she was assigned 5 of them today, but her skills were not good, so she read very slowly. If she didn't go there quickly, she might not finish it at night. In fact, it doesn't matter if it's a little later, but these patients are seriously injured, so if she treats them a little later, their chance of survival will be smaller. "What are you going to do?" Fen Ling asked, seeing her anxious look. Hans Huang said, "Princess, I want to see a patient." "If you finish eating, can you go back by yourself?" "It's okay, I've finished eating." "I'll go over with you and take a look." Fen Ling put down the dishes and chopsticks after finishing her meal and straightened her clothes and said, "Princess, the environment there may not be very good." Hans Huang said it very euphemistically. In fact, the environment there is not bad at all. It is simply very bad. They are used to the smell of blood everywhere. If someone who is not used to it goes there, they will probably feel sick. This is not a character problem, but a physiological reaction. At the beginning, she would feel nauseous and even want to vomit. It doesn't matter, I'm used to it. Feng Ling pulled Hans Huang out. Hans Huang was dragged away in a daze. Are you used to it? She didn't understand what the princess meant. When they arrived at the scene, even Feng Ling was shocked by the scene in front of him. This was not a medical place. This was simply a garbage dump. Not to mention the smell, there was blood and strips of cloth everywhere. Don't you have anyone to sort it out? Such an environment is not suitable for medical treatment at all. Princess, we don't have enough manpower. Hans Huang looked at her carefully and said. Feng Ling sighed, okay, I understand, which ones do you want to deal with? Over there, princess, please follow me. Hans Huang pointed to a corner. There are 5 people lying there. At a glance, they are seriously ill. In modern times, a critical illness notice can even be issued. There was a man who had a sword stuck in his stomach that had not been removed. Let's go and take a look. Feng Ling glanced around them. There was no one there. They were probably soldiers of low rank, so no one cared. I'll clean up the area first, and you go check on them. If you can't deal with it, come back to me. Feng Ling said and packed up. The environment here is too bad. If you have to deal with wounds, infection will definitely occur in such an environment. Princess, I know medical skills. If not, why should I come with you? Feng Ling looked at Hans Huang and smiled, don't underestimate me. Hans Huang stuck out her tongue and smiled sheepishly. She really underestimated this princess. How could the princess married by Lord Ye be an ordinary person? Okay, princess. With Feng Ling here, Hans Huang felt that he had a lot more confidence for some reason. Feng Ling has finished cleaning up, and Han Shuang has basically dealt with everything she can handle, except for the man with a sword stuck in his belly just now, which she can't handle. I'll do it. Feng Ling wiped her hands and said. Princess, do you know how? Want to learn? Feng Ling looked at Hans Huang and asked. Hans Huang nodded heavily, think. Okay, I'll teach you. Feng Ling said with a smile. However, there is a prerequisite. Take this medicine. This is to prevent you from telling anyone about what you see next. When the time comes, I will give you the antidote, but now, you must take it. I will teach you, don't worry, as long as you don't talk nonsense, it will only be good for your body. Feng Ling put the medicine in front of Hans Huang, and the girl took it without thinking. It was obvious that the girl was really interested in this thing. Very good. Feng Ling smiled, find me a clean place, otherwise he will get infected. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 306. Chapter 306. Hans Huang knew what Feng Ling meant very well. Okay, take him to the place where I sleep. There is a temporary shed I built next to it. It is less likely to be infected there. The 2 people carried the man into the house and put him down. Feng Ling looked at Hans Huang seriously, I hope you face the following things calmly. They did not exist in this era, but existed in another era. I will explain all this to you after he is cured, but I hope you remain calm during the rest of the process. Things in space are inexhaustible. As long as Feng Ling thinks about it, there will be it. This is the convenience provided to her by the system. Sooner or later, she will leave this world and go to another world. So, in this case, why not leave something to this world? Hans Huang is a little girl with no other thoughts, so it is not bad to train an outstanding doctor. I will, Princess. Hans Huang nodded seriously. Feng Ling smiled, and then in Han Shuang's dumbfounded eyes, she took out a lot of things she had never seen before. You take a look first, then follow my instructions and put on your clothes. I will tell you how to do it, you just need to follow the orders. Of course, You are not required to master it completely now. You only need to have a rough idea. I will give you the rest one by one. Okay, princess. Now, Hans Huang has many questions in her heart, but now, she has no other way but to follow Fen Ling's command. Fen Ling put Han Shuang in a surgical gown and then instructed her to put on gloves. Hans Huang was able to successfully put on gloves in a sterile state with only one pair of gloves. This was something Fen Ling did not expect. Hans Huang seemed to be more suitable to be a doctor than she imagined. You just put them on without touching the outer layer of your gloves and clothes, remember? Remember, Princess. Hans Huang nodded seriously. Fen Ling continued, the next step is to teach you how to spread sterile drape and go to the opposite side of me. Under Fen Ling's guidance, Hans Huang started working on it bit by bit. She was shocked to see Fen Ling doing things that she had never dared to imagine. She had never seen many machines before, and had never even thought about them. One day it will be possible to put stitches everywhere on a person's body, and the person concerned will not even feel a thing. Is this what the princess wants to pass on to her? Hans Huang was a little surprised. Did you see it? Think it's amazing. After the operation, Fen Ling took off her clothes, looked at the girl and asked. Hans Huang nodded, it's so amazing, princess. What are these things? How come they appear all of a sudden? And that thing that makes a noise, what are the numbers on it? That's called ECG monitoring from top to bottom. The first number is the heartbeat, the second number is the pulse oxygen, and the third number is the blood pressure. As for why they appeared out of thin air, it's because I have a system that contains a lot of things I brought over from the previous world. I am not from this era. I just came here a few days ago. The old Fen Ling died. That's why you think I don't match the rumors. I am indeed not the old Fen Ling. The world I used to live in was a great world with many magical inventions that evolved over the 5,000 years of human history. Fen Ling described her past world to the girl bit by bit. The girl listened quietly, from shock at the beginning to yearning later. She also really wants to have a pair of people for the rest of her life. Such a feeling must be very happy. You will have it, Hans Huang. Remember, in fact, in our time, it was just right to get married at the age of 25 or 6. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 307. Chapter 307. Girls get married too early and are immature in all aspects, so if you don't care about the world's eyes, waiting for the one who is truly worthy is more important than anything else. Fen Ling looked at Han Shuang and said softly. Lingling, can I call you this? Hans Huang asked tentatively. Fen Ling smiled and said, of course. I'm not used to them calling me princess and princess every day. Sometimes I always forget to answer. Hans Huang covered her mouth and smiled, no wonder they said you are cold and cold, Lingling. If they hear this reason, I'm afraid no one will believe it, ha ha ha. Fen Ling stuck out her tongue, then what can I do? The system suddenly sent me to this world, and I'm confused. After the two girls started chatting, they couldn't finish talking. So, Yeking Han was waiting for Fen Ling in the tent alone. He waited and waited, but couldn't wait. When he inquired about it, he found that she was chatting with another little girl. Yeking Han twitched, forget it, as long as she is happy. Originally, he was worried about wronging her in this environment, but now it seems that she is here to make friends and is happy. The next day, Fen Ling continued to learn from the basics with Hans Huang. Hans Huang really liked medicine, so he didn't feel tired at all when facing very obscure and profound things. I quickly learned a lot that I needed to know. Fen Ling was brought up directly from the clinic. Other theoretical knowledge can be learned bit by bit from the clinic. Therefore, there is no rush to bring this child to learn theory now. Everyone discovered that Hans Huang seemed to be getting closer to Fen Ling recently. At first, they all kept their eyes closed to Fen Ling, but after waiting for several days, nothing seemed to happen. Gradually, they were no longer so afraid of Fen Ling. Moreover, so many people were injured on the battlefield every day, and no one was in the mood to care about Fen Ling. Until one day, strange things appeared in Fen Ling and Han Shuang's rooms every day. Today it's a snake, tomorrow it's a scorpion. At first glance, it was premeditated. Fen Ling doesn't care, but Hans Huang is still a little girl, and what she fears most is these things. The little girl was so scared that she didn't dare to go to bed. Fen Ling's face turned cold. At first, she could ignore this as a farce, but now, the farce seems to have become too big. You should know why I called you here today. Fen Ling looked at everyone below coldly. Hans Huang looked at Fen Ling worriedly. In fact, she didn't want to make a fuss at all, but this time she was really frightened. If she didn't find the culprit, she would really have trouble sleeping. Princess, the common people really don't have it. Yes, Princess, we are innocent, really. Please give me some advice from the princess. Everyone knelt down, many with horror on their faces. After all, the word Fen Ling still holds great weight in their hearts. It doesn't matter. If you haven't done it, don't be nervous. I'm not concerned with the person. As long as you cooperate with me and do an experiment, everything will be solved naturally. Frost. Yes, Princess. Hans Huang brought a basin with green liquid in it. Fen Ling pointed to the basin in Han Shuang's hand and said, "Did you see it? This is the medicine I prepared. Because some people kept it over and over again, yesterday, I sprinkled a kind of powder on it early in the morning. In the air, as long as she comes, there will be this kind of medicinal powder stuck to her body. And if this kind of medicinal powder comes into contact with this water, guess what will happen?" Fen Ling smiled so sinisterly that everyone felt that nothing bad would happen. They were even more frightened. They were wondering if they had encountered it. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 308. Chapter 308. Fen Ling saw that her emotions were almost over. She clapped her hands and said nonchalantly, "If she touches her, then she will start to fester from her hands, bit by bit, to her arms, limbs, and even her whole body. Finally, when she dies, there will be a skeleton left, but until then, she is interesting. If you touch it, then sorry, I never like to make antidotes when making things. You may not have time to find someone else to treat you, unless you can find the antidote within 10 days. As soon as the words came out, many people trembled. Fen Ling didn't even blink and let Hans Huang carry the basin. There was no one in the first row, there was no one in the second row, and in the third row, a girl suddenly kowtowed and said, "Princess, please spare your life, Princess, spare your life, the common people are wrong, the common people know their mistakes, the common people will never dare to do it again, Princess, please spare the common people, take your life." Xiaoying. Everyone couldn't believe that the person who did this was Xiaoying, who usually seemed diligent. "Xiaoying, why are you doing this?" "Xiaoying, hey. It's not worth it." Everyone spoke out one after another. Xiaoying shook her head desperately. She was wrong. She really knew she was wrong now. "Princess, it's all my fault. I was jealous that Hans Huang could get your favor, so I wanted to scare her. You know very well that Hans Huang and I live together. You shouldn't have thought that if you scared Hans Huang, you wouldn't be able to scare me, but you still did it. So, Xiaoying, you are not just jealous of Hans Huang. Well, you still hate me, right? Why, tell me, I remember, I don't seem to have any issues with you." Fen Ling looked at Xiaoying coldly. Xiaoying pursed her lips and said bravely, "Yes, that's right, I just hate you, I just can't stand your attitude towards your servants. People like you have killed so many people, you deserve to die." As for Hans Huang, she is not a good person if she hangs out with you. After Xiaoying finished speaking, she closed her eyes and stopped talking. Among the people Feng Ling had killed, there were her very good sisters. But, she now. Hunted by Feng Ling, he couldn't even move. Princess. Hans Huang was a little hesitant. If she hated Xiaoying at first, then now she was suddenly shaken. Xiaoying. Princess, Xiaoying, she has a friend who used to work in the general's mansion. Hans Huang secretly talked to Feng Ling. Really? Feng Ling frowned. She probably already knew what was going on. How is her friend doing now? Hyperiplegia. Hans Huang pursed his lips. No wonder. Feng Ling looked at Xiaoying and suddenly understood. If it were her, she would probably do the same thing, but... You are stupid. What? If I were you, I would not choose to attack my enemies when my wings are not full. The success rate is too low, and it is very likely that I will lose my wife and lose my troops. Feng Ling said calmly. She looked around at the people around her. You all go back first. Xiaoying, come with me. Everyone glanced at Xiaoying worriedly, and then left. They know that in the face of absolute authority, they have no right to speak at all. Xiaoying followed Feng Ling into the room with despair. Where is your friend now? Who told you, Frost, you? When the war is over, take me there and I will be responsible for curing her, Feng Ling said. You didn't lie to me. Xiaoying was stunned, and then asked in disbelief, I have gone to many doctors, but they can't do anything. What can you do? Of course I have my own way, Feng Ling smiled. Don't think I'll forgive you if you tell me this. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 309. Chapter 309. Xiaoying looked at Feng Ling with hostility, her eyes filled with coldness. I will never forget what you did to your servant, not just her, but thousands of lives. Do you think you can save a person just by saving him? Xiaoying looked at the woman in front of her and said. I can't save it. Some things cannot be undone if I want to. She is not the original legitimate daughter of the general's mansion, and she has never done such things. She wants to help Xiaoying's friend, but she just feels that the girl should not stay in bed like this for the rest of her life, just because the original owner dislikes her. But you can choose to believe me and give her treatment, or choose not to believe me and let her lie in bed for the rest of her life. Feng Ling walked up to Xiaoying, looked at her and said, it's all in your mind. You have hurt her, how can I trust you completely? I said, whether you believe it or not is all up to you. I am a doctor. When facing patients, there are no masters and servants, only diseases. This is also a doctor's bounden duty, isn't it? Xiaoying hesitated. She had never heard of Feng Ling's medical skills, but Hans Huang told them that Feng Ling had saved the man who was seriously ill and they thought they could not save him. In this case, then, maybe it's not impossible. When you are rescuing people, I will be watching the whole process. No, no one can watch except Hans Huang when I save people. You have no choice now but to believe that I still have Frost. This is Feng Ling's bottom line. Xiaoying is full of hostility towards her now. That medicine will not do any good to Xiaoying even if she takes it, so she can only choose to shut her out. I believe you, but you have to ensure that she is safe. Xiaoying gritted her teeth and said. Whether it can be cured or not, I will ensure her safety. Feng Ling's assurance made Xiaoying secretly relieved, but Xiaoying was still full of mistrust for this woman who had hurt her friends. She decided to ask her friend when the time came. If she agreed, it would not be too late to let Feng Ling treat her. As the war gradually intensified, Feng Ling wanted to go to the battlefield, but was stopped by Ye King Han. She could only watch from the rear as batch after batch of wounded were being brought in. Everyone was afraid and nervous about Feng Ling at the beginning, but later became relaxed. They gradually discovered that this princess really didn't seem to be difficult to get along with. Bandage. Feng Ling said. Yes, Hans Huang handed Feng Ling a bandage, which Feng Ling taught them. Regarding the bandaging method, Feng Ling's system became more sophisticated. With Feng Ling's joining, the entire medical team gradually became more orderly. Everyone says that Feng Ling is the backbone of the team. At the same time, in the court, the emperor listened to one piece of news after another, and his brows gradually wrinkled. Ye King Han was really the undefeated god of war. After so long, there was not a single piece of bad news coming from the front line, all of them were good news. Your Majesty, my daughter has been on the front line for many days. I am very worried. I wonder if I can let my daughter come back first so that I can feel relieved. Ha ha ha, the generals of the country say that tiger fathers have no dogs. You are already a general. Are you afraid that your daughter will not be able to stay on the battlefield? Don't worry, I have been secretly protected by others. Your daughter is fine on the battlefield now. Speaking of this, the emperor felt angry, because Feng Ling was on the front line, and her life was not as miserable as he imagined. She was just like a fish in water, thriving. He asked several times and it was like this. Now, he has become the head of the medical corps. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 310. Chapter 310. Feng Tian felt uncomfortable being rejected by the emperor. He pursed his lips and said nothing, but his dissatisfaction with the emperor had reached its peak. He worked hard for this country and had no intention of helping the emperor. But now, the emperor not only doubted him, but also targeted his daughter. How could Feng Tian tolerate this? Madam, tell me, what are we doing? I often wonder if I was wrong. I should not have agreed to be the general of Zheng State in the first place. Master, don't think too much. Now that Lingling is on the front line, I don't know if she is eating well or wearing warm clothes. In all her life, Lingling has never suffered such grievances. It's me, the mother-in-law. It's useless, it can't save the child, it can't help the child. She let out a long sigh, then looked at Feng Tian and said, Master, actually you and I both know in our hearts that now, even if we don't rebel, the emperor will not let us go. Look at Lingling, even if you escape this time, can you escape next time, and next time? What do you mean, madam? Feng Tian looked at Shang Guanlin. Shang Guanlin said, let's assist Lord Ye and let him proclaim himself emperor. Only in this way will Lingling's life be easier. Last night when the prince came to our house, I could see that he was not bad to Lingling. Although Lingling was with him, although we could not say that we had feelings for each other, she was free and at ease after all. Perhaps, Lord Knight, is our only choice now, sir. Shang Guanlin's words made Feng Tian's heart turn upside down. He looked at the three characters' general's mansion in front of him, finally sighed deeply and left. We will discuss everything after Lingling and the others come back. Even though he said this, Feng Tian knew that he already had a direction in his heart. Today is the day when the army returns to the court. Ye King Han has achieved an absolute victory on the front line, including Feng Ling, who has also made a name for himself among the medical soldiers on the front line. Now, everyone likes Feng Ling very much. Feng Ling's previous reputation, everyone felt that it must have been forged by someone outside. How could such a kind person be as cruel as outsiders said? Only Xiaoying knew that no, it was all true. It was just that this woman had changed so much. She remembered that Feng Ling had never had the patience to listen to others, even in many situations. Treat people in dirty places. However, looking at Feng Ling's medical skills, Xiaoying felt that maybe Feng Ling could treat her friend. Her friend's name is Xiaoxiu, and she is lying at home now. As soon as Feng Ling returned, she brought Hans Huang and Xiaoying to Xiaoxiu's house. Xiaoying, you are back. I heard that you have won. Congratulations. The girl's young voice came from the room. From the sound of her voice, she looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Thank you. How about you, are you feeling better lately? What else can I do? This is the only way I can do it. Xiaoxiu lowered her head, her eyes filled with sadness. If I said there was someone who could save you, would you be willing to give it a try? Xiaoying asked tentatively. I am willing, but so many people have seen it and said no, that person. She was already afraid that her hopes would be broken again and again. Rather than doing this, it would be better for her to accept her fate of lying in bed for the rest of her life. That person, you know. Xiaoying pursed her lips and said, you should have heard about Princess Yes' departure this time. The person I'm talking about is her, you. Miss Little Snow. Feng Ling walked in after hearing what was going on. End of this chapter.